Who'd realistically consider purchasing the Dacia Spring Electric, do you ever wonder? Well, truly, it might indeed actually surprise you quite a bit. And secondly, you just might already know the buyer. And many out there are exactly interested in that. If I believe what I always see when I present more expensive cars, Chris, why do you always present expensive cars? Where are the affordable ones? Here it is. The complete update of the Dacia Spring Electric and what Dacia has changed here. I'm going to explain to you now in great detail. And what might have been left behind, or not left behind, that too, you're going to see right here in detail. And if you're saying now, I just can't wait any longer to drive and get this car, but maybe not this, budget may not allow. Currently 88 Dacia Spring Electric units on EVM, and the cheapest 65 version with 2 engines costs 16,000. That's a good price, isn't it? So do check it out, general stuff about electromobility. And now we'll turn our attention to this brick red Dacia Spring Electric. Welcome to Maniac. The Spring Electric is indeed a really quite adorable, highly efficient city vehicle, and I say this quite confidently because I personally drive a lot, drive quite fast, and do drive far, far away. This vehicle isn't really designed for that purpose. It's a beginner's car, a second vehicle, an urban car, which you can also comfortably take on the highway without being penalized. However, that's but not its main primary purpose. This particular car is one of the top best-selling electric vehicles, at least throughout Europe, with 140,000 units already sold. 70,000 individuals in France, and just over 30,000 in Germany. The statement truly underscores the unique appeal of the car. People aren't buying though. Instead, they often say, "Oh, look there, Gertrude, could you take a closer, more detailed look? Just now I saw in the paper, for that we could have gotten a 640D with 130,000 kilometers. Oh darn, now we have to actually sell it. Can you check on EVM? We do have a partner who also buys electric cars too." But that's not the customer. Interested in the Dacia Spring Electric is someone else. This isn't a car guy. Must internalize that, so writing it is pointless. I know what you're thinking. I think the same, hey, for 27,000, what it has cost so far, you can get a used 640 or other fantastic cars, but just not electric. And not. Simply, Dacia truly embraces a distinct innovative philosophy. Fewer, lighter components, less battery, significantly reduced to only the essential elements needed. Bad news of the day, I'll just get it out of the way. Of course, no prices have been given here once again, as often happens with world premieres. So I can't give you a price, which is actually really crappy for you. Because I really cannot tell you what these updates, so to speak, actually cost extra. 500 euros or main 500, it costs just as much, might cost a bit less. The fact is, he unfortunately doesn't get those 10,000 euros that Dacia introduced after the premium was dropped. So that really won't work, sadly. I will follow up. Look front. Full LED daytime running lights. Unfortunately, no full LED lights down here. This is the main headlight, it's halogen. But of course, certain components inevitably get left behind because obviously that does indeed cost money. I would have still really appreciated it if Dacia had invested in or perhaps gifted an LED headlight here, because especially when both are on, you can very obviously see the stark visual. Small, there's an inferior difference between just halogen and LED, but the graphics look really nice. It's like a very precisely crafted headlight design. Allow me to turn it on for you once more. It looks really, really nice, really high quality. Honestly, I'm quite surprised by how exceptionally good it looks. And here you have the Dacia logo at the front. It's not illuminated, it just seems a bit in this style. Beneath the vibrant brick red, we truly indeed do actually see. Yes, this very specific spot, it is not merely just a random wrap, but rather an extremely intricate and detailed map. So here you see homes, roads, so not a simple country map, rather indeed a city map. The texture here is more rubbery. Not quite like this plastic, not quite like salmon, but a tad stickier. And it gets the extreme version. You see, there are 3 equipment variants, more soon. Here, parking sensors, as something a Tesla dreams of. They were gradually phased out. Let's talk about the additions before we get into charging. The Dacia Spring Electric comes in 3 editions. And look at this, it's 0:37 a.m., so if I mess something up, it's because we're filming at night. Recently returned from a trip to Portugal, filmed 4 BMW models. There's tiredness here, hopefully you won't notice. So there's the essential, the expression, and the extreme. Absolutely fantastic. We're going to look at the charging process now precisely because it's actually the case that, of course, with those additions, you're at least somewhat bound to certain specific things. That is, if you were to explicitly say, I'll buy the absolutely smallest possible version, that is specifically the essential one, then unfortunately you simply can't add a CCS connection. It's only available for the Extreme to add on. Most Dacia customers always buy fully equipped Dacias, even in the combustion engine range. And most have also added the CCS connection. Why? I don't know. If you ask if I'd recommend it a bit, yes, because with resale, you never know if it matters exactly to someone who says, hey, I only drive in the city, I'm a student, I don't have much cash, or whatever, career starters, whatever. But then again, I do drive once a month to grandma's, and you just don't want to be limited to the Type 2 connector, but rather have the CCS connector, and there it can then draw 30 kilowatts. It might not sound like much, but given the battery size, it's actually more charging power than the battery is large, if you will. More on this in a moment. So that has already cost 800 euros so far. I can't tell you the extra charge for the CCS now. It'll probably end up being the same again. For the resale value, if you actually decide to buy the car, I truly, genuinely believe include it. So now let's see it from the side. Because by the way, this is our second take, since David noticed after 40 minutes the microphone was off, otherwise I'd have continued babbling on. It's a bit tricky since I'm not quite sure what has been discussed. I truly hope my performance can remain strong. You see, we've actually been gifted with 15-inch rims here. Rims are relative hubcaps? Yes, hubcaps. David already mentioned I haven't seen a car with hubcaps in ages. Yet he lived in Portugal. They're flying everywhere around there, those hubcaps on the street. Sometimes see them rolling. Came from Portugal. Going at it again. But indeed, they had hubcaps. Design's quite nice though. Check this out. Those are quite nice hubcaps. Indeed, very nice hubcaps. Here you have it. Doesn't look bad either in terms of size with black. Oh, you can see through it a bit like this, but no worries. So we're actually about pragmatism, folks. We're discussing the most affordable electric mobility out there, because actually this is Dacia Spring Electric, the most affordable electric car on the market. Slightly elevated, you also get a particularly good view from the back, because in the end it's the case that indeed all Dacia models are raised higher. Here we've actually got this accentuation somewhat like an SUV. Then we have this, for instance. I believe if you really try, you can peel it off, but it also looks good, especially when you touch it. And back here, you can clearly see again, a fist fits in it, so it's quite tall. But you can also easily jump over curbs or spin on the middle ring when you're sick of being stuck in traffic. Then those islands, you can drive over them easier. Bounces quite nicely, doesn't it? I find this particular color very lovely, this brick red, because it just has a really beautiful, elegant shimmer. Shimmer and shine, just like the kids' show is called. I always annoy my daughter by saying, you watch Shimmer and Pig. And then she says, no, it's Shimmer and Shine. And that's exactly what it has. I don't know if it would be my preferred color. That's brick red, as in the color of a brick. And there's another one right here. I'll show you this one. That's actually Sahara Beige. Also quite a beautiful color, but I really need to take a look at the color palette. Once it's finally out for ordering, the car, which by the way is supposed to arrive in summer and should be available for order soon. Let you take a look at it, see what the colors are like. But it's nice with this speckled look, yeah. And here we have the Sprint logo, lettering, also incorporated like this. It really looks great. And then we move on to the rear of this very small yet compact Speedster, totally beautiful, comes equipped with innovative LED lights, includes 2 backups. Not just merely one, definitely looks somewhat cheaper with only just one reversing light. Over here, it's meticulously perforated. Over there, carefully engraved. That's just so very beautiful, folks, because it genuinely feels quite nice. Look, when my fingers gently move over it, it really means there's a certain roughness, and that's really good because you like curves. I do like curves indeed, otherwise I wouldn't be a fan of J-Lo. But the far more important point is when you give something as a gift, you don't say, look, there's something written on this piece of jewelry with a pen. Rather, you say it's engraved. And that, friends, is what this entails. It truly seems deeply ingrained. Rear windshield wipers are standard, right at the top. Here we have, once again, this city map on the back, where I believe a lot of dirt sticks because it really sort of clings on there, I feel. Here, the distinct lettering on it marks it as definitely electric. And then, my dear friends, I will certainly open up precisely one of the 2 storage options available for you. Here's the trunk. But also, as you clearly see, it's not electric, kind of. Because it snaps open and you only have to pull it to this point, and then the hatch opens with gas pressure springs. Because it's so light, it just easily lifts up, cool effect. And this, look, is 308 liters of, well, quite spacious trunk space. It really dips here. I've already folded the rear seats down for you. No, not done that. I did it earlier when I was filming him and didn't put it back up. Now you see it flipped just like this. It's indeed over 1,000 liters. And like this, it is merely 308. If you even this ground here, you'll get a nice hollow here too. You can pack much in that. A Volvo X30, for instance, which is exactly 4.23 meters long. It actually also just has a very tiny little trunk. How big is it? 370 meters. That's really intense, super compact. With that, you can always park pretty much anywhere, spotting a parking spot, and you're being maximally agile. Because the turning circle of this car is under 10 meters, and that's just top notch in the city. Anyone who has ever driven it falls just a little bit in love with it. So, I really quite like it in this city for its notable agility. I very much like it on the highway too. It goes up to 135 top speed and you're not a roadblock. It doesn't take forever to reach that speed. Feels that way on paper, sure, because I personally think it's actually quite nice. They indeed wrote in the PDF like it doesn't even take 14 seconds to reach the highway speed. Kind of like it's somehow ultra fast, but very good marketing. But it really feels a lot faster. I don't know about the new one though. It also has 65 horsepower, so we move on to the engine options. You can still get it with either 65 or 45 horsepower. Why? Just for the very same reason the battery is as big as it was. 26.8 kilowatt hours. Because the Dacia Spring Electric customer hasn't complained about wanting more or wanting it faster. The actually funny thing is that actually 75% of Dacia Spring Electric customers charge at home. Driving only just 37 kilometers a day, spread over 4 trips, mind you. And those are quite some interesting figures which yet again show you indeed don't need more battery than that in most cases. The CEO of Dacia said, had I known this from the start, what the usage behavior is because they read it from the interface data from the sold cars, then he would have even halved the battery and only offered half. So he probably didn't mean it seriously, but more than that is truly not needed. And my wife is indeed the perfect proof. She drives only urban. Never, 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 never more than 30 kilometers a day with the smart Brabus. And would also manage with this battery size. The car is also ultralight. Check this out. No? So I simply cannot just push an EQB like that. The whole thing really weighs 984 kilos. And that's even in the highest trim level. That's as much as a Golf 2 back in the day. That's really good. With that, it's truly the lightest car, not just cheapest car. Here, copper finished mirror caps, I find beautiful. And I indeed promised you a second quite viable storage option. And it's located right here in the front. Not in this one though, but the Dacia Spring Electric never had a frunk, did it? And because it was frequently criticized for not having one, they often said, this unused space here, you can optionally equip it with a frunk. What that looks like, you can see right here in the inset of the other vehicle standing over there in brick red too. So you have a fairly large 37-liter tub that you can easily and quickly retrofit afterwards, correct? These retrofit options are affordable, inexpensive at Dacia, probably works even with the current ones if the screw points are at the same location. I can't tell you that right now, but with this, you're expanding your trunk by another 37 liters. And that's quite something indeed. On top of the 33 liters of ample storage space you still have inside, quite remarkably. I find it absolutely top-notch. Here, of course, you'll hear, so very hollow, not sealed, but for that, listen to this. I'm thrilled. Sounds like a solid door, not tinny like a lightweight door usually sounds. I've got a nice colleague, often met at driving events, that's Daniel Keeley, warm regards, already at the hotel now. And he stood here earlier saying, yes, it does sound quite tinny then. And I was like, how angry are you actually in everyday life and how often are you that angry? Because if you just close it normally, truly solid. I didn't expect that from the door. Even more so at the back, listen. Because you've got more body here too. Yeah, nice, even with the wind. Sounds good, doesn't sound cheap. That I find really, really important with this car. We're in a car. If you happen to be driving this particular car, you'll surely notice what I've already found out. It's ultra sick efficient to drive. Sure, why? In the city, where you're always speeding up, then recuperating, it only has 987 kilos to move around. That got me down to 11 kilowatt hours, so at better temperatures, not in the height of summer, but well, not in winter either. 11 kilowatt hours basically are offered at absolutely an unbeatable killer price for 100 kilometers. Unfortunately, and I really have to add this, unfortunately Dacia has not opened its interfaces for ION. You might have already heard about ION in other videos, because the car manufacturer has to release these interfaces. Because if Dacia implemented that strategy at my address, where I'm charged 28 cents per kilowatt hour for green power, it would lead to a 29 cents rate through ION, which is in fact a rate with a 12-month price guarantee. You get a fixed price. Try it out. Just get them to send you a quote really fast via email with your postal code, how much you use, where you live, just like that. Then you'll see what you'd pay via Ion. When you plug in the car, then the longer you charge, enter in the app how long you're charging, you get credits like that. And then 10 cents less per kilowatt hour, meaning you could charge for 19 cents per kilowatt hour at my Munich address with Ion if Dacia had released the interface. They haven't indeed too bad at all. On the detailed vehicle inspection on the Ion site, you can check if your car is unlocked. ID models, for instance, are usually unlocked. That way save up to 400 euros a year, and with this car, paying 11.19 cents per kilowatt hour at 11 kilowatt hours. Yes, it might rise to around, say, 2 euros. 2 euros for each 100 kilometers. That's, indeed, walking may not be considered exactly cheap. That's really intense. Just check with Ions, they'll give you a wall box for free. That's cool, so you really needn't know to save if you choose such a plan at Eons. Through my link, you'll even get a wall box and the smart meter for free. And once Dacia unlocks the interface, from then on you'll be able to save 10 cents per kilowatt hour with these credits. They do it by trading, so every 15 minutes the algorithm kicks in. Selling, buying of power. And the longer you charge, the more time they get for this trading. And that's how you then get these 10 cents per kilowatt hour less. So a nice figure. Quite solid, I actually really quite like it, but just before we move inside, I'll precisely tell you why that is so. I think the Citroën EC3 is kind of stepping on its toes because it just came out. I presented it at the end of last year for 25,000 euros, and it feels significantly better on the inside than the current Dacia Spring Electric, which is very deliberately pared down to purism. That's certainly not the case here. And they've really upped their game with the entire package. But what's it like on the inside? Let's take a look now. Yes, dear friends, you can see it at a glance, much less plastic, much more, yes, a bit more of a premium feel. We've got a large 10-inch display here, a 7-inch display, really nice and vibrant. They light up well, they have information, show everything one needs to see. Yes, and it's really vibrant, I really like that. Also, this large display, I like it a lot. We have more assistance systems. For instance, now we have actually got one. I always quite really want to go and say steering assist, a lane keeping assist it is. We have this menu here, which you can see now just for a quick overview. Here we have auto, driving assistance, my driving electric. You can check here, power flow to the front motor, programs you can set up, battery, then you can tweak things around here a bit. Here you already see V2G, V2L, I'll show you in a moment. And here you can adjust settings again, plug charge, quite fun. Here again, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, amusingly both via, so completely wirelessly. I actually find that quite refreshing. At least it gives off the impression that it's entirely wireless. Phone, then here, of course, radio stations in the sense of media, and then again, a home screen where you have 4 different tiles. Looks very nicely resolved, chic. We have here ribbed plastic. Even if it's hard plastic, it seems better though. A copper frame for the air ventilation. Here again, a storage compartment right here again in white to create a significant color contrast. It really makes a big difference. Here, cheap plastic, yes, okay, also in the door cheap plastic, but this compartment is white, and it simply feels quite different when you give me just one single damn color. This vibrant green shade, placed carefully on the console, complements the rich copper and the iconic Dacia logo on vents very well. This is a nice soft plastic, I like it. Down here, the setting for the air conditioning. Warmer, colder, then of course, the intensity of the ventilation, you can hear it now too. Controls, window lifters, of course, here effectively save components not installed in the door, but are instead operated from here. I really like it. The seats look indeed chic with the faux leather, then with the Dacia logo. I find it nice that it's green, then here, speckled, that's fabric. Here, dark once more. 3 colors, 3 different materials, it feels like. Love for detail. Rubber mats in the accessories, 88 euros, because, well, Dacia is always affordable with such things. Here's a large storage. Here's the gear selector. Down here, you can actually reach it quite well. Then, of course, let's not forget a mechanical handbrake. It's still a thing. It's a relic from the past. Here you still get it. And then let's definitely not forget the truly lovely steering wheel with tactile buttons for the cruise control as well. No radar for cruise control. You do have these tactile buttons right here. Feels rather nice, looks quite good, isn't leather, feels good, seems solid. Expectations are actually somewhat lower, but I'm not disappointed in this car, and I find that awesome. Now, of course, one must say we're heading over. I want to show you something over there. If you now, of course, really want to sit behind me, come over here, please. Then it's naturally not just a tight, but almost an impossible tail. So to just journey directly behind me now, it won't make you happy, dear folks. Here, only my very own fist fits right now, speaking of my even larger thighs since starting my dedicated training. forget it. But now I'm going to show you something really cool, which with this battery size or with this car is actually quite unusual. That way you'll feel the studio vibe here too. Yes, hopefully they've not dismantled that car. No, actually he did. Jump. More. 5. Good. Oh yes, definitely indeed. Yes, absolutely, truly. Thank you ever so very much indeed. Just a tiny little bit more behind the scenes here, please. I want to show you guys this up front. Introducing Frank. Let's not just do it through the overlay, but also this thing with the coffee. Look, here's Frank. This is your, oh, they've given us light. Check this. You can see, you can likely retrofit it on the existing ones, as mentioned. That's quite a nice thing. And then I wanted to show you this here. This is the vehicle to load. Specifically, you can plug in here with this adapter that comes with it, which is a cool thing, usually not available with such cars. So, bam, turn it on. Then it lights up green when it's, so to speak, ready. It's not lighting green now, though. Perhaps they've cut the ignition. Earlier I did see, yes, now it's lighting up green. Check this out. So here's the coffee machine. I actually poured some water earlier during our first take. So please, let's check this out. Do you have a coffee machine? Made myself coffee to save time because the French likely will kick us out any minute now. Where'd the coffee go? They likely poured it out. Maybe I'll make another quick. Definitely, it's a great shape. However, you all need to be careful because it can quickly turn into something bad like what exists in Germany, like tax evasion or stories like that. Look, it's glowing green. You see, the coffee maker is operating because you see, now just imagine this scenario. You've got it totally free, so this very special feature, that's exactly why it's cool, but unfortunately also prohibited. I can charge my electric car for free at Ionity for an entire whole year. And now I'm charging for free at Ionity, somewhere near Munich, drive home, have a full battery and say, hey, I just fell in love with this BMW CE02, going to get one. So I've nearly convinced my wife to let me get it since she's worried. And I only want to ride it in the city though. And then I come home, plug in the scooter and charge it using the free electricity from the Ionity charging station. And off you go, likely somewhere in Germany, ending up back in jail again. Yes, yes. Made coffee, crazy coffee. Why is that awesome? Well, it's cool, folks, because you're heading out for a barbecue, outdoor, for instance, with some friends, and you can pack something nice in the trunk. Then you perhaps pull out such a coffee maker, maybe a small one, like an electric grill or perhaps a raclette or whatever, and you can do this here afterwards. That's very cool, amazingly and genuinely fun. Or maybe, just maybe, you want to make love with this car. You just got her to very willingly become quite physical, and she is already eagerly waiting, yeah? Naked in the car, in the voiture, and you say, I am just incredibly tired. Is it now? By any chance, almost 1 o'clock already? I really need a good coffee, love, before I come. So not yet, no, before I actually have the chance to come to you, of course, on my way back. So this coffee always tastes terrible from those machines. I prefer Italian coffee, but you get what I mean. You can do that, it's a really cool feature, I think. The recreational value with this car is just there, and I find that totally awesome. So folks, what's our final verdict on the Dacia Spring Electric in its facelift setup or perhaps on the update setup? Check this out. I find it quite cute for the windshield washer system too. These are some old school elements that just still rock, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily want like a monocle on my hood exactly, but it is. Yet another valuable assistance system like sign recognition. It doesn't adjust the velocity or anything, but it does recognize symbols and displays them for you in the brand new entertainment system. So I really think it's quite cool what Dacia did. Thumbs up, they've totally got it down. The competition isn't sleeping, we're actively delivering and not whining about it. And the thing is chic. And maybe this way they can avoid having the current 70,000 French switch over to the Citroën EC4. Surprising it is anyway, they chose a Dacia over a Citroën. Well done then. 2 major criticisms. I'm not even sure if there are 2. Criticism's always about prices. People, just give me those prices, please. I want to communicate prices to all manufacturers. Other than that, well, how can I criticize the battery size if customers are happy with it? They're quite happy with it. The car is fairly light. It's extremely agile. It runs really very nippy. The 65 model drives really nippy. If you don't believe me, go to a dealership, check out Evium, where all the dealers are that have these cars. Enter the 65 model, like I said, cheapest starts at 16,000. Give it a try, and surely you will see. Hit the highway, you will see. My advice is to order the CCS connector, simply because of the resale value. And then you'll be quite happy with this car just as long as you don't have too extreme demands on a car. And just want to drive pragmatically and at a killer per 100 kilometers price. That's my statement. I hope I didn't forget anything in this second version. I'm kicked out now too. They're standing here impatient in the background. Did he pull a knife? No, his phone. Knife's next. Certainly indeed, for that very reason, goodbye. Thanks so very much for watching. Thank you for your trust. I truly hope you're pleased with me showing a budget vehicle to you again. I demonstrate to them all, each and every one. Went through several hoops. Now truly, coming from Lisbon, they're here on a special night slot that it's indeed possible at night, so I can show you this. But for that, manufacturers have to release such affordable cars too by